with experienced panelists, followed by questions from the audience and a guided meditation experience. Our special guest of honour will be the Acting Consulate General of India in Perth, Mr. Naresh G. Kumar, who will grace us with his blessings towards the end of the program. Other dignitaries will also join in later. So just a few housekeeping rules before we begin. Please keep your mobiles on silent or switched off. Please don't throw any rubbish or eat in the auditorium. There will be some photos taken just for our records. If you want to go to the toilets, they're just around where the refreshment area is. So I now invite Charles Hogg on stage to share on the topic From Victim to Victory. Welcome. I'd also like to invite Jigisha to welcome Charles with a bouquet of flowers. Jigisha is a great supporter of the community and always willing to help, so thank you, Jigisha, for your time. So we'll just get into the topic now and allow Charles to share his thoughts on the topic. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone, and it's really such a great pleasure to be in this beautiful gathering, in this extremely beautiful auditorium. And I think before I start, I would really like to thank so much Nita Ben and Praveen Bai for all the effort they've put in and the whole team to bring us all here tonight. I can feel it's a lot of heartfelt effort that has brought us all together. We live in an extraordinary world, 8 billion human beings, 195 countries, 6,500 spoken languages in our world, and 4,500 practiced religions. And I often call this the outer world, the world that we all experience through our sense organs. It's the world where we hear, we see, we taste, we touch, the external world. But there's another world which I would call the internal world, the world which is beyond our senses, but also a very, very powerful world, our world of our thoughts, our feelings, our attitudes, and our actions. And this is like the internal world, which all of us are experiencing so strongly at the moment. And sometimes I feel that seeing this world, this internal world, and how it really flows into each part of my life. You know, when I begin to sort of taste this internal world and how it's really the seed of just so much in the external world. And when I begin to sort of feel how this internal world is really feeding our external world. And sometimes I think this internal world is like 8 billion people, and each one of us just generating thoughts, pumping thoughts into the atmosphere. Scientists tell us that the human mind can create up to 70,000 unique thought patterns in a waking day. And so it's almost like we collectively pump out those thoughts and we create this atmosphere in the world. But most of us experience our world in decline. Wherever I travel to these days, people feel, and they openly state, things are getting worse, things are more difficult. What is really feeding the world out there? I would say it's this internal world. And when the human mind is full of greed, that flows into our external world. And we create this materialistic culture that's really destroying our world at the moment, our environment. When the collective human mind is full of ego, it flows into our world and we're full of self-interest and we lose that real compassion and understanding for each other. When the collective human mind is full of anger, look at how much conflict and difference is in our world at the moment, how much peacelessness is there. And when the collective human mind is full of this feeling of victimhood, it's like so many of our brothers and sisters around the world feel that they're just a victim of this world, that the world really isn't fair. And often I reflect on these things, you know, what is the seed of what we see out there? What we're witnessing on our televisions every single night, what we hear in the news, what is the seed? You know, for me, I feel it's the first relationship in life is so unhealthy. The first relationship in life of me with me is so damaged. And when that is damaged, when I feel uncomfortable really about who I am, I struggle with feeling good about myself. And when that is damaged, it flows into my health, it flows into my family, it flows into my relationships, it flows into the workplace, it flows into the institutions of this world. So in a way, what we see out there is really, the seed of it is this struggle internally to feel good about who I am. And you know, my own personal experience is that what we learn in this world is self-confidence. So many of us here, we're so educated. We're so confident to run a company or lead people or speak to people or do something. It doesn't mean I like who I am. And often that gap between how I feel internally and how I present to the world is growing more and more. And as a result, sometimes, you know, feeling a victim in life, I start to get into this mentality of poor me, poor me. And, you know, I start to feel life isn't really fair. It's not really fair. And I feel that there's like two pathways we can take. And perhaps we could say that, you know, there's some victimization which is really real. You know, sometimes in the world, people really do suffer as a result of wars and conflicts and displacement and so many things. But often we feel a victim of the mundane trials of life. And I think that's what we're really going to talk about today. Sometimes we feel a victim of the morning rush hour. You ever feel a victim there? Sometimes a victim of our colleagues, our superiors, our family, our friends, so many things. And so this poor me syndrome begins to emerge inside. I feel sorry for myself. And it sort of takes two pathways. I would say that pathway of a victim where I feel completely disempowered. I feel I'm just like a puppet dancing to the tune of situations and people and their decisions. Or there's a pathway to victory. It was the language we've used tonight. Perhaps the pathway of spirituality, where I begin to see that all these challenges, which each one of us sitting here tonight is facing, are actually pathways for self-empowerment. They're pathways for self-learning. They're pathways to really gain invaluable wisdom in life. And this is where I would say that spirituality, the path of spirituality, is really reflecting on all the challenges we have in life so that I grow and learn and move forward. Because if we look underneath the consciousness of a victim, what is sitting there? There's negative thoughts, negative feelings, negative attitudes, negative actions. That is really sitting underneath. And that's the real issue, actually. That we have developed this pattern of a negative vision to myself, which manifests in all these negative attitudes and behaviors. What is the behavior of a victim? A victim blames. A victim feels so much that life is against me. So my one weapon is blame. The weapon of a victim is to blame. And I once read that one person, a politician in New South Wales, said that 90% of politics is finding someone to blame. I think we know how that is often. And so we get into this blaming mode, this blame, this pointing the finger to others, towards others. And ultimately, spirituality says that blame is the ultimate ignorance in life. It's like I feel that your behavior and situations are much more powerful than me. I give all my power to you, and then I sit and I feel controlled by that. But spirituality, in one sense, is just step by step taking my power back once again. It's the journey for self-empowerment. And spirituality is the journey to beginning to know who I am, experience who I am, and begin to heal the self. How important is it in this world to embark on that journey? I often feel that the world out there is changing so fast. It's so fast. Unless I put a few internal anchors down, it's like life keeps knocking me over. And I feel more and more a victim of so many different things, which creates this habitual patterns of negative thinking. And this is why the journey to victory, if I can use that language, is this gentle inner journey of self-learning. To me, I feel it's the most important thing in life today, to give time to this inner journey to re-empower myself. And the first law of spirituality says that I am responsible for how I feel. Yes, people will be rude, people will be difficult, situations will go wrong. We all know it because we've all experienced it. But I have a choice. I have a choice to become a victim and just allow my thinking to go into that very dark and negative and unpleasant place. Or I have a choice to create quality thoughts and maintain my sense of self-value. Is it easy to do? Is it easy? No. We all say it's not, because our habitual patterns are something which is quite different. And this is why really on this journey towards spirituality, the first step is really to know and experience who I am. Because the seed of this lack of inner power, this lack of inner strength, is a lack of understanding who I am. I've lost my self-respect. I've lost my inner power. And this step of spirituality is to build up that inner power. And when I look at the self, I see that there's like 3 personalities inside. I would say 2 of them have that victim mentality, but one of them starts to take me outside of that victim mentality. The first personality I call the I of arrogance, or the I of superiority. And this personality takes its whole sense of identity from the labels of my body. I see myself, who I am, as according to my gender, my nationality, my religion, my economic status, my job, a whole set of labels. And what is common to all those labels is that they are all temporary. They are all temporary. And when my ego is sovereign in my inner system, when my ego is ruling in my inner world, I compare with others. It's a subconscious thing, it's not conscious, and I feel I am better, I know more, I am right. But when it comes into my feelings, when my ego is sovereign in my inner system, that's when I feel so easily insulted, disrespected, not valued, excluded, sensitive. So it's almost like whenever those feelings are coming in my mind, of feeling excluded, sensitive, not valued, not respected, know the false I is ruling in my inner system. I'm being deceived by a false I. But when this I is ruling, I feel very much a victim of the external world. I sort of feel that people's behavior, other people's decisions are really controlling my life. And so this I, the I of arrogance, feels very resentful and negative towards others and situations and positions myself as a victim. But this I is really just a cover for the second I. And I call this the I of inferiority, or the I of lack of self-respect. This is the ego of inferiority. And this is when I also take my whole sense of self from the labels of my body. And I compare with others, and I think others are better, others know more, others are right, others don't love me, others don't value me, others don't respect me. And when it comes into my feelings, there's this feeling of hopelessness. Sometimes I feel there's an epidemic of hopelessness in our world at the moment. I feel hopeless, inadequate, unworthy, inferior, and I would say depressed. In psychology, in essence, depression is like a sadness that my dream in life to be loved and valued hasn't happened. But in spirituality, depression is like a mourning for the loss of my true identity. I'm living my life, but who am I really? And this I feels a victim of myself. If I've made a mistake, I've been dishonest. If something I have done, I regret, I feel guilt or shame, and I feel a victim of my own past and my own actions. So in these two I's, my ego and my lack of self-respect are dominant in my inner world, which is normal for most of us. One day we're up, the next day we're down. 1 hour we're up, the next hour I'm down. I'm in this incredible roller coaster. And this is why on this journey to this inner victory, the third I is the original I. I am a soul. The soul is a wonder. The soul exists, but it has no size. In mathematics, a point exists, but it has no length, breadth, or width. I am the soul, and the wonder of I have no gender, no nationality, no religion. All that labeling comes with the temporary self. So what I'm beginning to do is return to my intrinsic and true self. The soul that enters the body when the quickening begins in the womb, sits on the forehead, in the center of the forehead around the pituitary gland. And I, the soul, begin to express through this body, but I forget who I am. So I come under the influence of my ego of superiority and the ego of inferiority, and it begins to distort all my perception, and hence I begin to feel a victim. And I often feel my own experience, because the first step in meditation is coaching myself, if I can use that language, not just to know and believe. 80% of people in this country believe there's something more than the physical body, but to taste the feeling of who I am. And my own experience is it's like coming back to a place inside where you feel so comfortable, so easy. You take all the pressure off yourself to look good, to impress people, to be something. The culture of our world, you've got to be out there, you've got to look good. And I start to return to this awareness of who I am, that I am a peaceful soul. The natural state of the self when I'm in this state of self-awareness is peace. The aim of meditation is not to be peaceful. That's the result. The aim of meditation is to know and experience the permanent self, and automatically it releases peace into my system. And this is really the inner journey to take back the authority of myself, take back my power, so that the habit of positioning myself as the victim, step by step, slowly begins to change. And sometimes I think of the inner world like a tree. A tree has, we saw the incredible tree on the video, a seed, a trunk, branches and leaves. Those huge sequoia trees have tens, hundreds of thousands of leaves. The leaves are your thoughts. But the leaves are the end product of your inner consciousness. Often when we're struggling, feeling inferior, feeling a victim, we try to cherry pick out these negative thoughts, take them out of my mind. But they come back. Why? Because what is feeding the leaves or the branches, which are my mental and emotional patterns. And when I develop this mental, emotional habit of positioning myself as a victim, it keeps feeding the mind with this thinking. But what is feeding the branches is the trunk. The trunk is my subconscious. It's a store of my past. And Freud said that 80 to 90% of our behavior just comes out of my subconscious, automatic programming out of my subconscious. But what is the seed influencing the trunk? It's my sense of identity. Who am I? And this is why when we grow up and we take for granted, I might believe I'm a soul, but I think and act as a body. So when I sow that falsehood as the seed of my inner tree, that influences the trunk, influences the leaves, and on the top, so many thoughts, overthinking to the point we can't even sleep. And a part of that whole acquisition is this sense that I'm a victim. And so it becomes natural because the seed is false. The seed is false. My body is a wonderful instrument, but it is not me. It is the temporary self. And this is why when I sow the truth that I am a peaceful soul, it influences the trunk, it influences the branches, and on the top, the thoughts really cool down. This is really my own experience. When I sit in the early morning and just have this process of letting go the labels of my body, returning and just feeling who I am as the soul, automatically my whole inner world begins to cool down, just using the wisdom of who I am. So in this journey to victory, first I take responsibility for how I feel. And each thought is my creation. Each thought is my creation. And when I have the courage to take that responsibility, when I say I'm creating negative thoughts, I begin to improve them. But where do I begin the power? By knowing who I am and sowing the seed at the bottom of my tree of my true self. But thirdly, to experience true love. And sometimes I think the understory of life is this search for true love. We invest our heart in relationships. We give absolutely everything to our families. You think, what have you done for your family, your community, your friends? You give absolutely everything. But there's a huge human dilemma. No relationship is permanent. Whether it's time, whether it's change, whether it's conflict, whether it's death, the object of my love will go. And this creates a huge insecurity and fear inside of all of us. What is spirituality? Spirituality is really exploring the one relationship that's permanent. And sometimes I feel that there's three sources of love in life: self, God, because most of us, the relationship with the self is unhealthy, not much love coming there. For many of us, we have faith in God, But whether I really feel a deep, intimate belonging and love, I'm not sure. So for most of us, our one source of love is our family and friends. And if there's a loss or a conflict, a separation, it's like my whole world falls apart. What is spirituality? What is spirituality? This inner journey to empower myself. It's, for me, 2 simple steps. First, developing a loving relationship with myself as a soul. And secondly, a loving relationship with God, the divine, the supreme soul. And this meditation is first sitting down quietly and letting go the consciousness of the body. Feel I'm sitting lightly in the forehead. I look through the eye of the mind and I see the light of the divine, the beautiful image which is still behind me. And just as I am a soul, I'm sitting here on the stage and I'm speaking and gestures are coming, but actually I'm a soul acting through this body. You can see me, you can hear me. To me, God is also a soul, but does not have a physical body. And so this is something absolutely unique. And when I'm meditating on this form of light, it's not like an intellectual idea, a concept, a belief. I'm actually connecting with a real living soul, a real living being. And why is this? Because in the DNA of the human spirit is to have relationship. We don't have to learn how to do it. It's the most natural thing. And this meditation method, which is the method really to take me out of my old story of feeling a victim, to empower myself to really get out of that state of mind, is to develop this loving relationship of the soul with the Supreme Soul. How? What is the method? What connects me? It's thoughts and feelings. When we connect together, actually it's the way most of us connect with each other. You know, when you communicate with anybody, you communicate on 3 different levels. One is what you say. The second is your face. We all read each other through our face. The face is the index of the soul. The quality of the soul is expressed through the face. And the third thing is the feelings and vibrations. You know, all the research shows that 80 to 90% of the impact of any communication is non-verbal. It's your face and your feelings. So, you know, when you get a message from someone, one is what you hear and the other is what you feel. You always trust your feelings. So we're always communicating through our feelings. As you're sitting in this auditorium at the moment, people are popping into your mind. You suddenly think of somebody, and we just take it for granted. But actually they may be in East Africa, they may be in the UK, they may be in India, anywhere. They've thought of you, you pick up their thoughts instantly. Light travels at 186,000 miles a second, but thoughts are absolutely instant. And so we are always doing this with each other. We're receiving messages and giving messages through this subtle thought power. It's the same with the divine. I'm not just sitting there believing, having faith. I'm actually communicating directly through my thoughts and feelings. And sometimes I have the feeling or the experience that, if I can say, it's like God is on the FM wavelength. When I, the soul, am under the influence of my sense organs, it's like I'm on the AM wavelength. I can have faith in God. I can believe in God. But can you get the FM station on the AM dial? You can't. So if I really want to connect, to empower myself, to step out of this victimhood mentality, I've got to go up to the FM wavelength. And this is why really meditation, the first step is so important. The step, the journey to letting go the consciousness of the body and feel myself just sitting so lightly in the forehead. And I've done so many experiments in the laboratory of my mind because, as I said, most of us know and believe that. But to experience myself as a soul, as you become soul conscious, it's like the presence of the divine, the presence of that relationship with God is there. And it releases back my internal power once again. And I'm connecting to a being who's unlimited in love, unlimited in peace, unlimited in spiritual power. And it's like I'm a soul that's done actions, and all of us, we know happiness and we know sorrow. But this soul has never performed actions, is beyond that game, but is a real, living, loving being. And when I begin to develop this relationship and I allow myself to be completely loved, my own experience is that I love to wake up in the early morning hours, and just sit very quietly. I love to just sit so quietly. And I just let go the consciousness of my body, step back, withdraw, and feel myself sitting lightly here. And through the eye of the mind, the third eye, I see the divine, I touch the divine, I feel the divine. And I allow myself to be completely loved. Nothing will make you happier, nothing will make you stronger. Just absorbing that love. And what I observe, my whole world settles down. I feel so still. And in that place, I can feel, so stable, so strong, and all the power comes back. And then I begin to look through the lens of that awareness. Because in a sense, my consciousness is my lens on life. And I begin to see that when I forget who I am, I forget this relationship, I feel I position myself as a victim in so many different ways in life. And I feel disempowered by others, by situations, by personalities, by behaviors, so many things. But when I step back into my sense of self-value, have this relationship, it's like I step back into my internal power. I don't know whether what you feel about all that, but I feel that the message from life today, the message from our world today, it's not just enough to have a belief. A belief is good. I really need a daily practice. And to me, just knowing the self, experiencing the self, I put down this anchor of stability. Knowing the divine, connecting with the divine, I put down another anchor. And so when I put down these two anchors, it's like as the world swirls around me, the world is changing, so many things are happening. I listen to the hearts of my human family. There's so much pain and suffering in our human family. But the more I put down my anchors and I'm stable, I'm actually able to not just feel a victim, but to move out of that space and help others. And one of the things I've learned on this inner journey is the more you know the self and connect with the divine, you understand the power of thought. The greatest power in life is thought. And if I use my thoughts, I turn them around from the victim feeling, and I have mercy and good wishes for others. Your thoughts are like a perfume. The thoughts can really fill an atmosphere and they work in an incredible way. And all of us sitting here, we know we have loved ones, family and friends who are really struggling in this world, really struggling, have deep feelings of being a victim, deeply hurt. We often think, how can I help? What can I do? And sometimes I feel, we give emotional support, was where we We talk to them, we encourage them because we love them. We want them to come out of that place and step into their true self. And it helps for a day or so. And then the next day when they come back, we're back to square one. Actually, what I've observed is the more we change ourselves, the more we transform. It's like spiritual support. When you're stable in your sense of self-value and you have the connection, and then you can hold their value in your attitude. I would say that you hold their goodness. They feel that. I feel that is the great way that we can support each other. So I not only step out of my own sense of victimhood, but I really help others step out of their sense of victimhood too, and really come back to knowing and experiencing who they are. To me, to meditate regularly is an act of love for myself. And there's 3 approaches to meditation in my experiences. We can do it like a hobby, where we come to a beautiful night like this and we all enjoy, it's a nice atmosphere, but we go home and go back to our old ways. Or we can do it as a discipline. And what I observe today is so many people are taking up meditation. But what often happens is we meditate, and as soon as I finish meditating, my mind reverts to its old thinking. I go back to my old thinking. But what really works today is when I practice meditation as a lifestyle. I make the decision that I'm going to live as a peaceful soul. I'm going to develop this link with the divine. So that no matter how many things change around, it's like I'm under that canopy. I'm under that, that's my connection of my mind. I remain stable even as the world around me is unstable. And to me, the more I meditate for myself, the more my attitude, my mind really supports those I love around me. It's the step-by-step process. It doesn't happen overnight, as we know. But to invest in a daily practice is really the greatest investment in my own well-being and the well-being of my family. And for me, I think I began to meditate. Someone was asking me, what's your story? In 1975 in London, I was living in London, and I hardly think I've missed a day in 50 years. And it's not that it's just, like smooth sailing, straight line. It's more like this. But I think it's just such a quality investment in really healing myself from so many things, one of them being the feeling of a victim. So I'm going to put a pause button on myself. The next step is going to be
That was very insightful. Thank you, Charles. It's very inspiring to know all the innate powers and values we have and how we can use our self-determination to not allow us to become a victim of reactions. So thank you. Let's all give him a big round of applause. So going deeper into this topic, I now invite the panelists, Mr. Paresh Gandhi, who has over 20 years of experience as a commercial property solicitor and is presently a property and fleet manager. He has held numerous community leadership roles and is also involved with the disability sector. Welcome, Pareshji. Next, I invite Mr. Ramkrishna Bansal, a well-known community leader and mental health advocate. He is involved with the aged care sector with decades of business experience across multiple industries. Welcome, Ramkrishnaji. like to invite Sister Sonia to welcome them with a bouquet of flowers. Sonia is a regular dedicated student at the Brahma Kumaris Institute. Thank you, Sonia, for your time. We will now commence the panelists' dialogue. So I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you. Thank you for that absolutely thought-provoking discussion about how we can all sort of think about our day-to-day lives and how many times we actually believe that we are a victim of something, and how we try and what I totally agree with you is what you said about being there. It's so easy to blame somebody. It's very hard to kind of look at yourself and say, you know, what am I doing here? Why is it always somebody else's fault? Almost giving somebody that opportunity to talk about not to accept responsibility. And I think this world, what happens with this world nowadays is that we just want to take the easy way out on everything. So I think this is where that whole sort of concept comes into play. So listening to what you just spoken about, I was thinking about, do you feel that the human ego has a lot of influence over our sort of thought process of becoming a victim?
I would say definitely. As I was sort of trying to express that, the ego is a false sense of self, and it's like I become attached to a sort of a sense of who I am, but it's actually false. And so that ego has so many different children, I would say, and one of them is this distortion that, I position myself as the victim. And in a way, the most powerful form of ego, I find, is the lack of self-respect. When I position myself as inferior to others around me, and it's a subtle thing. To me, what's dominating our world is the ego of inferiority. And so this just talks inside my head that, when something happens that is wrong, that, you just start to position yourself as a victim. So the whole seed of distortion is actually my false sense of self, my ego, I would say. What is the spiritual journey? Sometimes I feel it's not trying to deal with my ego of inferiority and ego of superiority. It's actually growing who I am. And the more I know that I'm the soul and experience, it's like the egos, both of them, have less and less power over me. It's almost like I turn from that victim who is completely powerless. It's this journey, the more I become soul conscious, and I'm stepping back into my sense of self, and the ego has less power over my thinking, my perception, my reality.
Yeah, it's absolutely interesting how we then try and always just go back to that easy route of how we can do it, and the easiest way is to obviously try and say, okay, it's not me, it's not my fault, and and also I think with the world, ego is sometimes seen as a very positive attribute, saying, that I am who I am in society, for example.
Yeah, it's really so true, and I think, one of the great acts of courage and humility is to say, I am responsible for how I feel. And to me, this is probably one of the most transforming things in life, when I have the courage to say, I always have a choice. I have a choice to feel the victim or have all the feelings and blame. But each thought, when you think, I create the thought. So I have a choice not to create and fall into that pattern. But it's a deep, deep pattern which we all know. And that's what spirituality is taking power from the divine to create a different response in my thinking the situation. So it just takes practice. And yet it frees me from myself. It frees me from this addiction to sort of negative patterns and negative attitudes and negative feelings and positioning myself in this way. But it's definitely a journey. Would you agree? It's a journey.
Om Shanti. Thank you, Brother Charlie, for those uplifting insights. And thank you, friends, for holding such silent attention. I would like to explore a few points that touch me deeply. I heard your talks today, and I was listening to one of your talks earlier as well. I was actually went on Brahma Kumari's website and watched one of your early talks, where you say that outer event is only 10%. Outer event is only 10%, right? And our response is 90%, right? 90% is response and 10% is actually outer. When grief or injustice feels raw, what is the first step to flip that inner voice from helpless to hopeful?
You know, I think that from my own experience, to flip out of the helpless state is my relationship with God. And, you know, I think that's the seed of developing an internal strength to bring change in my life. You know how we can hear these ideas, we can read these ideas, we love them intellectually, but to practice them, where do I really find that internal strength? And to really think in a different way, respond in a different way, not my old reactions of feeling hurt and resentful and angry, which are the patterns which are so deep. I feel that when I have this relationship with God, that is such a power that I can change. As you would know, I think, better than me. You know, addiction is so great in our culture, isn't it? There's so many levels and types of addiction. And I've been involved in a lot of the 12-step programs, and I've seen that the thing which really allows people, develops the strength to let go, whether it's an addiction to alcohol or drugs, or a pattern of reacting, or a pattern of feeling a victim, or a pattern of just always feeling hurt. It's actually the relationship with God. When people develop a relationship with God, that really changes. And this I don't mean really so much praying to God, but having a natural living, I call it the lover of the soul, in a way. And I think to explore that can flip me out of the old patterns into a new set of patterns.
Yeah, you rightly mentioned this loving yourself and loving the God, having the relationship with the God. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So when you talk about that sort of relationship with God and loving oneself, how do you kind of how would you, from your experience, deal with that kind of situation where you take a little bit of a thought of how you could react to something instead of just sort of like, you know, how the world would see somebody as a sign of weakness if they don't react to something, or if they don't come across strong. How do you practice that in yourself to say, look, I don't think I should be reacting to that, because is it all to do with thinking that I'm a soul as opposed to having any of the other labels around you?
Yeah, it's a really interesting question, isn't it? Because I think, you know, the more I move back into the awareness and the experience of my true self. It's like, and my ego is not, I always feel it's my ego that accepts sorrow, my ego accepts hurt. And the less that affects me, it's like almost naturally I become like a detached observer of life. And to me, it's not that I'm cutting off or I'm really, really feeling aloof and disconnected. But to me, detachment is a great wisdom. I'm very loving, very caring, very close, but I'm not so influenced, I'm not impacting. And I begin to observe the scenes of drama more than absorb. I feel when I forget myself, I absorb everything because we're empty internally. Sometimes I think of the mind like a vacuum cleaner, in the sense that, if you give me love, because we're empty, right? I take it in. You give me respect, I take it in. You insult me, I take it in. You criticize, I take in everything. And then I blame back on you. But actually, the more I come into this sense of self, I become more an observer rather than an absorber. And I think that is, really such a state of wisdom. So rather than just reacting constantly to comments and situations, which is our programming when we are body conscious, the more I become self-aware. And for me, some years ago, there were 3 things I began to practice for the scenes of life. Become a detached observer. And to me, that really means, to be truly detached. It's very important. It's like in detached involvement. I'm really loving, caring, but observing. For people, a benevolent observer. I really feel that is so important because my experience is we get so disturbed by other people. Once a friend of mine said we have, as you saw at the beginning, centres all over the world. In fact, I think there's something like 55,000 centres of the Brahma Kumaris in the world. The main question we have in all our centres, how to deal with difficult people. How to manage, we are so disturbed by each other. And so the more I learn how to have good thoughts for people and see good in people, it's amazing how that dynamic can change. But for the self, an honest observer. Can I see myself objectively? Surely that's a wisdom we need in life. Or is my whole perception, my reality is I'm a victim, and that's how my perception of everything. And I think being an observer is really, it's a natural consequence. I feel the more I know the self, the more I have a relationship with God. I'm present, I'm responsible, I'm loving, I'm caring, but I'm not programmed to really be highly sensitive and react. Sensitivity to me is ego. Some people say, oh, don't say I'm sensitive. I think to me that's a form of ego too.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Yeah, I agree with that because I think. But then, how do you what do you say to yourself? Is there something you say to yourself to stop you from doing that, or is it just coming through just years of practice of meditation and actually believing that you're a soul? And I think that would probably be. How would you react to if somebody came and shouted at you or did something like that? How would you then stop yourself from reacting or feeling? What would you say to yourself?
Sometimes I've had the thought that the more I know myself, and I know I carry a lot of my own baggage, and so does everyone else. Sometimes I've thought of relationships like an iceberg, not that they're cold. An iceberg has 10% above the surface and 90% below. And so when we meet somebody, we see the 10% and we're attracted or whatever to that. But as you get to know people, what happens? The 90% below the surface, the programming in the soul, the habitual pattern starts to come up. And often, we're not sure whether I'm really comfortable with this. So I really feel just like I sometimes struggle with my weaknesses, my shortcomings, my whatever, so is the other party. party. And so, rather than this hyper-judgmental character, which we often have, where we just jump in to judge people, to offer mercy, I think, is one of the greatest gifts of life. Quite frankly, scratch the surface, almost everyone today, it's a battle. Life's not easy for the majority of the human race at the moment. And I know my own battle, so why not offer a sense of mercy? So I try to sort of see beyond the words. Sometimes if someone gets really angry, how scary is it? Really raging angry. But what are they really saying? Help me, I'm in pain. That's what they're really saying. Because, deep down, we observe ourselves, and, I feel when you react to people, you criticize, you defame them, you yell at them, it damages your relationship with yourself. Because deep down, this is not who I really am. And that's where I think to have this, just the more you learn about yourself, the more you don't overreact to people. And that detachment gives you space not to react, but to observe. But I just want to say before we finish that, because a lot of people don't like that word. Who doesn't like the word detachment? Parish. Because it sounds aloof, cold, cut off. But to me, it's such a wisdom. And actually, to be truly loving, you have to be detached. Because when you're detached, you can love people when they're sweet. But when they're not so sweet, they're difficult, you can maintain your love. Really, it's a great wisdom spiritually when I learn, not a forced thing, but a natural thing, when I can be detached and loving. For me, it's a great wisdom in life.
You mentioned about iceberg, about relationship. They say that familiarity breeds contempt.
Yes.
Isn't it? Okay. In my own life, a single conscious pause in the middle of chaos has shifted a whole day for me. How can we make that pause a habit when the world around us just doesn't slow down?
One of the practices of the Brahma Kumaris is what we call traffic control. And we take a minute during the day just to control the traffic of the mind. Because you know how the mind sometimes starts to dwell on something, dwell on a situation, and you take yourself into a dark place. The traffic control is really just to have elevated thoughts just for a minute or two. Literally remind myself, can reconnect with the self, reconnect with the divine. And it can start to change the feelings that when we start to dwell on the negative behavior, dwell on my mistake. And I've been practicing for some time. Really, when I notice my mind going, you know how your mind can start to dwell on something, and you know where that's going to take you. It'll take you to a dark and miserable, unhappy place. But can we stop? That's how weak we've become. We can't stop. I know it's going to make me unhappy, and I really pay attention to tweaking my thoughts and coming back into my self-awareness. To me, spiritual effort is just paying attention where my mind travels to. We all know there's places that will make me happy, and there's places that are going to make me really unhappy. As soon as I start to go into that darker place, try to pull it back at that point. This is spiritual strength. Once again, I think those two anchors help me, give me the strength to enable me.
Thank you.
When you mentioned traffic light control, I've heard about that before, and when I seem to sort of practice that, I don't do it every single day, but when I feel like the day is pretty much overwhelming or whatever, I think right now I need to do something about this right now, and then when I sort of just stop and then sort of pretend that there's like an imaginary sort of circle of protection around me and just take a step back for a minute or so, I find that it's an absolutely incredible way of then suddenly everything that was seeming unsurmountable has now become much more, much more tackleable. So I think that's a great way of doing that, and I'm glad I can use some of that in practice.
Many people tell me I can forgive others. You mentioned that earlier as well, but I can't forgive myself. How do we release self-blame and taste victory inside?
Well, I might sound like I'm repeating myself constantly, but this relationship with the divine is incredibly powerful. And I think, as I said, what I love to do is sit like a small child. So in a way, when you become like a small child, it's sort of all those elements of ego sort of, and sit in front of the divine and allow myself to be loved. And in that, really having that compassion for myself, the self-compassion, because sometimes, forgiveness is letting go all the conditions in my mind that stop me from loving. Each time I can't forgive the self or others, I suppress my love. Nothing makes me healthier than to really express love. And I think it's a quest which is so important to really sit down, have this relationship, and observe the things that sometimes make me beat up on myself. Those thought patterns, heavy thought patterns of you're no good, you're hopeless, which, many of us have. Sometimes we feel, oh, only I seem to have these thoughts. Everyone else seems okay. But actually this sort of self-flagellation, if I can use this, is such a common thing. To me, the love with God frees me, and I forgive myself in that experience of love. That's, you can go through intellectual things, and you can even say that it's like a decision in life. Do I want a life of peace, or do I want a life of sort of hurt and pain and anger and resentment? It's like a decision that I really have to make. But I get the power to implement that when I really have the sense of love and closeness with the divine.
While listening to what you just mentioned, do you think social media is playing some role in this self-blame game when we see others enjoying their life and creating the beautiful picture of something which probably many people just dream of? Does that contribute?
I'm sure it does. I'm certainly no expert in this area. But is it real, all that sort of fantasy stuff? Because unfortunately, I think in this world, we almost create a sort of a fantasy self. And who I really am behind that fantasy self is something often so different. And we fear that people see through that fantasy and see that I'm not as confident as I look. I'm not as loving or have self-respect as I look. And this is really the fear of ego, that people see through the facade I create for the world. Because I feel our contemporary culture, it's almost like we build the image, we build the facade to present to life, but who I am really. So I feel this incredible anxiety that people will see through this and that I'm not as good as I look. It's an incredibly uncomfortable feeling. And definitely, it's not just social media, it's the whole culture of having an image, being out there, looking good, I feel wisdom is just to say I'm comfortable being me. And, in all my years of meditation, I feel that the more I sort of understand how ego plays out, how ego creates the feeling of a victim, but when I'm soul conscious, I really come into a sweet place where I feel so comfortable being me. I don't have to project anything big, anything. To me, a successful life is I like being me. Not with arrogance, but I'm comfortable in my own skin. And this is the result of spirituality. And, the image of success, which we all get in life today, is powerful, money, fame. I once gave a meditation course to a billionaire in Melbourne. such an interesting man. And he said to me, the richer I became, the more unhappy I became. He said that to me. He said, for a whole host of reasons that, and that's why he really became, started to move on that spiritual journey. There's nothing wrong with wealth, but if it's my sense of identity, all these external things, then it's going to be fragile at some point. Underneath all of this, it's like I'm an actor playing a role.
Just talking around that particular area, and also just generally about how we observe the world and how the world observes us. I've heard people often, not often, but sometimes saying, "Oh, look, God doesn't like me. That's why God's put me in this position, and I'm the victim of society, and there's nothing I can do." How would you respond to somebody who's feeling like that? To try and give them some sort of thing that, look, it's not you're in that position because God hates you or anything like that.
The law of karma is a very fascinating law. But I had a friend once he was an actor, and he was in Sri Lanka actually, and he used to go around to the villages. He was paid by the government, and he did this whole performance that a lot of people feel that I've been born poor, I'm not that educated, that's my lot in life, I can't do anything about it. And his whole thing was, no, you have the resources to create your own destiny, because the law of karma really says, I am responsible. How I feel I am responsible for my destiny. So I think, to me, it's not that God can't be God if God says you're going to have a good life and you're going to have a bad life. That can't be the case. But yet, sometimes our beliefs about God also make us feel victims in life. And that's where I think, my understanding of God is just a natural relationship with like the soul lover, the soul parent, and a being that just gives me power to be the person I know I can be.
No, I agree. Yeah, that's how once you start exploring that law of karma and it's trying to understand the deeper meaning behind it, what you said is in my view 100% correct, is that God cannot love one of his children more than another child. So it's like even what I've heard is that like a mother cannot have an uneven amount of love for one child. So why would God have a degree of love?
Favoritism.
Favoritism. Yeah.
I believe that brings us to Voices Beyond the stage now. Shall we invite a few reflections from our audience?
I've been getting some good neck exercise tonight.
Does the audience have any questions? Yes? Brenda?
Om Shanti, Brother Charles. My question would be, how do we harmoniously balance our responsibilities and relationships with the soul conscious stage and the relationship with the divine? Do you want me to?
If you don't mind, that would be great. Thank you.
Om Shanti, Brother Charles. My question today would be, how do we harmoniously balance our relationships and responsibilities in the physical world with the soul conscious stage and the relationship with the divine?
I think that's such an important question, because if we look at history, to be spiritual, a lot of people have withdrawn from the world. They go and live in monasteries and convents and caves and things like that. I feel what we learn here is a balance in life. And true spirituality, one of the great wisdoms is finding balance. And for most of us up until now, we find time for the family and time for work. But because I don't give time to me, often we come to a point in life where I feel empty, I feel unfulfilled. You feel sort of a meaninglessness in life. And that's where I have to give time for the self. I feel the more you know and experience who you are, you have this relationship with God, you're a much nicer person in your family and much more productive in your work too. Because the more you empower the self, it automatically influences others. And you know, the whole idea of meditation is to bring my spirituality into life. And once I was in San Francisco at the University of California, and they were researching meditation. Do you know that meditation is probably the most scientifically researched area in this day and age? The man who wrote about emotional intelligence, Daniel Goleman, I met him once and he has written a book about meditation. He said he found 3,000 scientific studies on meditation. And I was sort of guinea pig of one of them. And the way we meditate with our eyes open for the very reason you're saying, so that your spirituality isn't you sit in a room, cut yourself off from life, close your eyes. You know, spirituality is to take into your life, uplift yourself, and then spread that fragrance. So I had to sit in this little room for 6 hours, and the scientist was telling me to do things. So I had to count backwards from 1,000 in 17s and give her the answer in certain times. She gave me all these complicated things. She was trying to put pressure on me. And you know what she said? She said in the end that the people who meditate with their eyes open carry that spirituality into their relationships and into their work. To me, meditation is for life. So the more you upgrade the quality of your mind, the quality of your feelings, that will flow into your relationships and everything naturally. And this is why we always suggest to people to wake up early in the morning and give time to the self. Because when you uplift yourself and then you step into life, what your experience will flow into your day. And you know, we're so in tune with each other actually. And so when you're in a light state of mind, a loving state of mind, a benevolent state of mind, people will feel it. And honestly, your family life and your working life will definitely improve as a result of it. So I think balance is a great wisdom of spirituality. But the more you give to the self, the more it will flow into your family and your work. And this soul-conscious practice is really so that I bring it into my day-to-day life.
Om Shanti. So my question was, how can we resist the pressures and the bullying in workplaces and schools where people aren't educated about being soul-conscious and being spiritual, and how we can not be fearful and unsafe while still giving them blessings and interacting with them. So what would you recommend?
You know, as we were touching on with Paresh and Ramakrishna, that we have reached a place of spiritual bankruptcy and emptiness. So the whole mind is programmed to take. I need to fill the emptiness inside. So we're so susceptible to things happening. And I remember asking Daddy Janki, who's the head of the Brahma Kumaris for many years, what is pressure? She said, all pressure is self-created. And I've seen research in a workplace where two people are doing exactly the same work. One is absolutely stressed out of their brain and the other one's really calm and quiet, because we put this expectation on ourselves. We put these heavy expectations. Once again, I've got to look good, I've got to be something. And I would say that the more, once again, I go on this inner journey to know and experience the self and connect with the divine, it's like we don't allow ourselves to be the victim of someone else's negative behavior. And I don't put pressure on myself as I would before. Of course, it's a journey. But ultimately, I am responsible for how I feel, no matter what is happening out there. I know it's easy to say, because our habitual pattern for so long is to feel a victim of everything happening outside, but ultimately spirituality is teaching me to take responsibility. Each thought and feeling is my creation. And it's a journey, it's lifelong learning, and that's where I think investing in this is, you know, the best quality investment in quality of life, I would say, giving time to learn about me. If I could just share my own self, you know, I think I was a pretty average person in the sense, could be quite sensitive to people's opinions of me. You know how often we are people pleasers. Anyone here a people pleaser? I think it's human nature, right? So when we lack self-respect, so if you respect me, I'm fine, but if you don't, that was my natural state of mind. But over the years, I think that's completely changed. And I feel quite stable, regardless of the atmosphere, the people. I feel living in that state of self-awareness, investing the practice to learn about the self is such a great investment. And I often say to parents too, the more you live in that state, it will automatically flow into your family and your children. One of the greatest gifts of a parent is to live in self-respect, because it will automatically help children, you know, just through your example. Because children and family members learn more from, you know, who you are than what you say. Is that true? Yes. Do they listen to what you say? I mean, that's the state of the world. And that's where I think if you want to give a message, be it. Be the change you want, the great Gandhi saying this. So I know these things are easy to say, and you know, they may sound a bit theoretical, but actually, if you develop a daily practice, you'll be amazed how you change it. And we have in the eastern states, we have 4 live-in retreat centers. They're all by donation, we don't charge. And often we say to people, practice for 3 months, every single day, no matter what. Never say, oh, I'm tired, oh, I've got too much to do. Every single morning, wake up, go on that journey, that internal journey, and see the effect after 3 months. And it's amazing how people begin to realize, actually, I can change myself. I can come out of these habitual mental and emotional patterns that have been dominating my life. It's possible.
Hello.
You know, I can hear the voices, but I can't see them.
Here.
Oh, you're waving.
So I have a question, like, can we help others to change their habits, like our young adult children? Could we do something to help them to change certain habits of theirs?
Perhaps. Is that a good answer? I'm sounding a bit doubting, aren't I? You know, I believe the most powerful teaching is example. You know, if we lecture anybody, we might have so much good intent, but when you model the behavior, when they see somebody doing something wrong and you don't get angry and you're even merciful, they will learn that behavior. They will observe how you do it. But that's where I think, you know, your own example is the most powerful learning tool for anybody. But, you know, as he was talking about social media, it's not an easy world for young people. And I feel sometimes we become mentally critical, but they can feel those thoughts. They feel it, and it just pushes them away. My feeling is everyone needs so much love and respect today. And when they feel secure that you genuinely love them no matter what, then they have that trust. They build that trust. But if I'm mentally saying, why are they like that? Why are they thinking, how can they eat this or do this or behave like this? That energy they pick up and it pushes them. You can't underestimate the power of your mind. People feel your thoughts. Sometimes I think that your mind is like a big billboard on the road. You know, people think, oh, no one knows what I'm thinking. Actually, it's absolutely untrue. They can feel your thoughts in that way. And this is, you know, one of the main practices I've learned from the Brahma Kumaris is the power of good wishes and pure feelings for people. This is what changes people. And I remember when I was living in London, I knew a guy there who, you know, like a lot of people, he'd had through a difficult life, and he had a label for himself, the most negative person in the world. That's a pretty big label. And you know what he told me is that the sister who was running the center saw his value. And he said sometimes he'd come into the meditation center so negative, just having self-doubt, angry. And he said she bypassed and kept seeing something in me. And her faith in me brought me out of my place. And if you met this person now, he's the embodiment of a peaceful, beautiful human soul. It's incredible. But it was someone's faith in him. And that's what I feel. If you want to really change someone, hold their value in your attitude. See their goodness. Don't focus on the weakness, and they will grow into that. And really, I'm a great believer in the power of the mind in this way.
I think it's not on.
Om Shanti, Brother Charles. Just this, unfortunately, we are living in a materialistic world. This is a materialistic world. So basically, what you touched on was ego. You know, now this is almost, I'm to the end of my lifetime. Our ego is normally, when you are very young, you have a very strong ego, but it's that I was looking for a way how the ego can be diluted, but I could not find a way how we could dilute our ego. But you come to a stage in your life, once you have, this is, I think so 6 years back, you have sudden things that happen in your life, and then, and that COVID came in, remember the COVID time? Then you realize that what is this world for? And then how you can dilute the ego. It's very difficult to dilute your ego. That's the main thing. And then when we look at the people we normally tend to look at the people who are above us. We never tend to look at the people who are real behind us. And when we realize that they are struggling so hard and still they cannot achieve anything in life, and we have achieved what we wanted in our life, basically, we may have, it took a while to achieve that sort of lifestyle, because we are living in a materialistic world. But it's so difficult to dilute your ego that if we can find a way of how to dilute the ego in our younger age, that's the main thing.
Thank you so much. You know, in one way, becoming soul conscious is dissolving the power of ego over me. Because usually my ego is of my family name, my wealth, my position, a whole lot of different things create a sense of ego. But when you're a soul, what can a soul really have ego of? And in a way, the more you become soul conscious, your self-respect increases, and the expression of self-respect is humility. Humility is so attractive. You know, humility attracts love. Why do we love little children and old people when they get very old? Because that humility is something. And when someone is really doing great things in the world and they're still humble, that's so endearing, isn't it? It's so touching when they... But I would say the more I'm becoming soul conscious, the more that I'm becoming more humble. There's a deep relationship between ego and love. I feel the more ego, the less love I experience in life. What is the beauty of life? It's love. It's the exchange of love. The more ego, it's almost like, I'm not so attractive, I'm not so lovable.
believe that Brother Charles has answered a lot today, and we did gain a lot of insight from what he shared with us. Can I request him to lead us in a brief meditation, about 6 minutes, to anchor the feeling of being victorious being?
So let's show our appreciation for Quresh and Krishna. Just let us sit quietly, and if I can suggest, put down phones, devices, bags, themes. Just let me sit very quietly. We are all living in a very challenging world. A world where sometimes we can easily feel a victim of so many things. Spirituality takes me back to truth. And truth tells me that I am responsible for how I feel. I can create the inner feeling I want. By firstly knowing and experiencing who I am. Visualize yourself as a minute spark, a tiny star of life energy, sitting lightly in the front of the brain. I've lived before this body, and I will live after this body. But just hold this image of the eternal self. I, the soul. Feel yourself letting go the image of your body. Experiencing yourself, the actor wearing the costume. I am a peaceful soul. I am a peaceful soul. And in this state of soul consciousness, let me visualize the form of God. Or even keep your eyes open and gently rest your vision of the image of light on the screen. I see the eternal form of God as light. And within this light, an unlimited ocean of love. Allow yourself to be completely loved. This is a purity of love that I will find nowhere else. Open yourself and allow this love to enter the core of your being. You're more and more open and feel this love healing me, restoring my sense of self-value, reconnecting me with who I really am, feeling stronger and stronger in turn. This is the highest union of the mind, the soul absorbed in the divine. In this sweet place, I observe myself changing, transforming, stepping out of my lack of self-respect, which makes me feel a victim, and stepping back into my natural state, soul consciousness. In this place, I feel the master. Automatically, the feelings of being a victim begin to dissolve. Each morning when I wake, I sit quietly before I think about what I have to do or what happened yesterday. Become soul conscious. Absorb the mind in the divine. And step into my day as inner power. To meditate regularly is an act of love. To meditate regularly is an act of
That was a wonderful meditation experience, very soothing and peaceful. Thank you, Mr. Charles Pareshji and Ramakrishnaji, for enlightening us on this topic. Before I take your leave, I would like to invite Sister Nita Ruparelia, the coordinator of Brahma Kumari's Padbury, to lead the rest of the program. For the last 23 years, together with her family, Sister Nita has been serving the community both nationally and internationally with much love, dedication and enthusiasm. Welcome, Sister Nita. So with that, I take your leave, and thank you for being a wonderful audience. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you.
Om Shanti. Greetings of peace, greetings of happiness. Welcome everyone. Really looking forward to see you here. I don't know why today they are so much in a hurry to leave their seats. So thank you here for giving us this beautiful way of conducting the program and the time you've given from your busy schedule from home. She's got a little toddler and she accepted my invite that I will come and support you. So I think she needs a bit of appreciation from us. Yes. She's so sweet, always shy but very dedicated. And we got one more bouquet, so Roshni can bring to welcome all of you, because sometimes people wonder why are the seniors getting the bouquet and the audience are not getting. So a warm welcome to all of you again, and I'll ask Roshni to give that bouquet in behalf of us, for you to come here, and for you who have been here and giving us your time from your busy schedule on a Saturday. So we thought we might welcome you with that warm welcome. Where is again the bouquet? So this is for everyone, especially a yellow one. Without you, we wouldn't be here, and without Charlie Bhai and Paresh Bhai and Ramakrishna Bhai, without them we wouldn't be here. So thank you so much, Charlie Bhai, for being here, and we were really looking forward to this big gathering and where you can give your insights on how to become victorious from being a victim. I think everyone is really going through these common incidents in their life, how they are going through these weaknesses inside and getting that, becoming a victim from all our other episodes which are coming in their journey. So thank you so much, Jali Bhai and Paresh Bhai and Ramakrishna Bhai. We got special gift for you both. And you just stood up so quickly from here. I think you had enough of all this.
No, we wanted him to lead in meditation.
Okay. So we got some gifts for you. Where is Roshni? Okay. So the white one is for Ramakrishna Bhai. You can give him. And one is for Paresh Bhai. The green. Okay. They really did a lot of homework. How do we handle this interview? What is the knowledge and how will Charlie Bhai respond? But you did very well. We really give a round of applause for you. You had a lot of courage to come. It's not easy to come and sit here and ask questions, especially when Charlie Bhai answers. So thank you so much for giving your time. Yes, and we have more guests here. We have special invited guest Amubai Shah, prominent businessman in the town, really looking after the community here and everywhere. So thank you, Amubai, for coming here from your busy schedule. I think you just came from Bali yesterday, yeah? Yeah, so it's good you made it here. So we got something for you. And here is Roshni. So we'll invite Charlie Bhai Patel to give this token of appreciation to Amubai. Thank you so much, Nitaben. Thank you for being here. And we have got also the prominent figure in the town, Deepakji Sharma, the president of Indian Society of WM, and really working hard for the community. And we have seen ISWA is growing bigger and bigger every year with so many multiple programs. I don't know how they are managing. I think they are getting all these volunteers ready for you. So that's the law you are giving the community how they can benefit. And thank you so much coming from your busy time. He was not here. I said, well, no, in which other program he would be, but you called me. So it was great you made it. So there's also something for you here. Thank you so much. You know why Charlie Patel is here? He is also one of our very prominent figure in the city, always giving his assistance in the sound system. Whenever we invite him, ever ready, day and night, doesn't see his commitments, and the family is also supporting in every way. Jigisha Patel is there. So thank you, Charlie Bhai and Jigisha Ben, for giving your support in every way for the community, and always there whenever we want you. So we got something for you. Yeah. So we'll have Charlie Bhai to give. Charlie Bhai Patel. Thank you. Yes, we got special guest of honor, the acting Consulate General of India in Perth. He's here, a very, very humble person. Whenever we invite him, he's always there. And he takes his time to be with Brahma Kumaris. In the consulate's office, he's always supporting, bringing the community together in a united way. And we have Raksha Bandhan programs for the last 14 years at their office. And last time, this Takiji, he really honored Brahma Kumaris and said you should do a program in the hall now, and we'll support you. So lots of support from the office of the consulate. Thank you, Nareshji, for coming here. I think we would like to have your blessings. We would like to have your blessings, and you can share some blessings for the Brahma Kumaris. We got a nice bouquet for you also. So, you know, Sister Maureen from the Perth Brahma Kumaris Kennington Center, she was not able to come here because her health suddenly got bad. So she sent her apologies just about 1 hour back. So I think on behalf of her, the coordinator of the Brahma Kumaris Kennington Center, please accept this bouquet. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, I never miss Brahma Kumari's program. Just let me share my experience. No, I will just. No problem. I was sitting for a while. So, when Charlie brother was just saying a lot about his experience, he reminded me of my college life. This professor used to tell the same things when I was in my Bachelor of Education program. And at very young age, I joined service. And I am carrying those words, the never react. It is the main thing in our life. And still, I am following the same thing after just having more than 30 years this service. And I never react, whether I am in office, whether I am outside, anywhere, in family, or anywhere in the society. So when you react, then immediately it damages your body. And when it damages, then definitely the blood pressure will. And this BP is going then higher, and highest. So definitely then everything, the system, inside system will collapse. So my request to everyone, don't react. Never react, even in your family, small kids, children, or whatsoever, or your brother, sister. So if you start reacting, so first you will get your body damaged. And one more experience I would like to share with you. I was in my posting in Kuwait, so one lady, she was very, very angry, and the staff sitting at the counter, just she came inside. Sir, one lady is very much angry, and she's, I don't know how to handle that lady. So I told, okay, just to send her in the meeting room. And I knowingly just went there after 10 minutes so that her BP cools down. So after reaching there, still she was very angry. So I asked her, Madam, what is the problem? No, I don't want to speak to you. Then I thought, yes, really, she is very angry. So again, I reminded my just professor, and like we were sitting like this, and I moved like this. I didn't listen to her, and she was mentioning a lot, this, that, your embassy, this, people are not good, this, that. I didn't listen to her. And she was very clear. I am very sorry. Madam, what happened? See, for the last 5 minutes I am speaking and you are not listening to me. So then I asked her, I think now your BP is down. Because after 5 minutes you thought that he is moved that side and he is not listening. Now your BP is down. Oh, madam, tell me please what is the issue? We are here to help you. But in your life, please don't raise unnecessarily your BP. She went happy. Because that is our job in the service. Make people happy. Thank you very much for coming here. Thank you, Didi.
We shouldn't go without this. Not take the advantage of the seniors and see they're giving you such a nice way of giving you.
I really appreciate it. When I was watching you throughout your interaction, there was a smile on your face. If you carry smile, then naturally the positive energy will come inside and then you can share with the audience.
Thank you, Nareshji. Now you're all on your seats. You're comfortable now. Okay, regarding the topic, I must share my experience that I was not that courageous soul here. When I was in the school, I had lots of that, like that person, he shared his experience about bullying. And I had a lot of emotions coming, and then after marriage, getting into those emotions, no courage, sensitive, always reactive. And then I joined Brahma Kumaris and I realized that the weakness is actually inside me. I'm the one reacting with my weakness of body consciousness. So I tried to practice with meditation. I studied every day, as how Chalibai was saying, and we can really get over that timidness, that no courage, not able to speak. I came out of that emotion and always reactive, and from the outside encounters or episodes, and I used to feel very, very low. Then when I did the course and did meditation, I felt myself very empowered. I practiced the body consciousness stage, practiced my meditation, everyday study, and now an example here. So I never used to come in front of people. Even talking to people, I was always fearful that they look down at me, they will not communicate me with love, they will disrespect me, they'll give me accusations, defamations, and always had my very low self-esteem. But then with this practice, as I said, we have to be connected with God and be in that highest frequency so that we can get His connection and get His empowerment so that we can be over this disempowerment, what we are having inside, becoming a victim. So become victorious. We have all the good wishes for you to be victorious. We can do it, and we can change the self, and we can change the world. Okay, so what is in my list here? So we have to give vote of thanks to everyone. Everyone. So first in my list is the sponsors from refreshments. I hope everyone enjoyed pav bhaji and all the chai coffee. And that was really a good spirit from someone, and they wanted to give this refreshment. So thank you so much for the person, the family who has given this a donation for refreshments. Then you can see this auditorium. We never expected we'll do a program here because a lot of things to arrange. But again, somebody was sponsored to have this auditorium with the school arrangement. And the school were so happy for us to be here, and they gave us so many facilities to use, like this mic system and all other technique things behind it. And the security, the parking they given us at the rail here is not supposed to be for the public, but they've still given us the area for parking. So really big thank you to this RACS school for giving us this auditorium in a very low cost. Also a great thank you for our regular students who have given their hands as angels and made this program a big success. We had 40 volunteers to do one job, so they all gave their hands, and we were able to make it in good time, because this auditorium was supposed to be only for 2 hours. So we used everyone's hands for this service. Also, thank you to my family here. I didn't have time to sit with them for the last 2-3 weeks. So they gave us a lot of time for me to continue with this service. My Sapna, my daughter, is in Sydney. She helped us with the flyers and these audio visuals. So thank you, my dearest, closest family, for sacrificing and letting me do all these services. And also thank you to the wider family. Without you, we wouldn't be here. So I've been there sending the reminders till today morning. I think Sejal should send my reminder. Till today morning, because I didn't want anyone to miss. Because everyone is going through these emotions inside. And I know how I have overcome those emotions and how we can help out, especially the ladies. There are so many women come to us asking for help with their families and jobs. So I thought, let me do my last chance and invite them here for the program. So I think I had enough people to thank here, and hopefully you all become victorious over your emotions, weaknesses. If you got any more activities to attend at the Brahma Kumaris, we have courses happening, positive thinking courses, meditation courses. We have our location south of river in Huntingdale, Kennington Main Center. We got location in Inalu, Joondalup, and Padbury. So you're most welcome if you would like to take more interest into this meditation and make most use of this life in this body and come over your weaknesses, yes? So okay, the last written here I can see is, when you leave outside, you'll get blessings, a very affirmative thought. You can use it sometimes if you become low with your thoughts. Use that positive affirmation in your life. Keep it in your pocket or wallet. Sometimes it's very useful. You'll get blessings from the Brahma Kumaris, and also a fruit, dry tolli. You'll get a pack of dry and fruit tolli. So you take the volunteers outside to give you. And when you leave from the right hand, from here, on the left, your car park is there. Your cars must have been parked. So you go straight there. There are gates there. If you come closer to the gate, it will open. The gates will open because they are electrical. The last gate. Okay, so then, તમે explain કરો છો? So they get more picture of it.
Sorry. Hello. Mike's doesn't work. Sorry, it's the last gate which is electric. So if you go very close to it, it will automatically open. That's it.
Yeah, Balga Avenue. So that's the traffic light. You can do left or right on that.
So don't become a victim again. Okay, so good night, and we end this program now. Hope you enjoyed and have a safe journey home. Hmm? Yeah, so if you want to meet Charlie Bhai, Amu Bhai Deepakji Sharma, Ram Bhai, if you want to meet Charlie Bhai, he's here. You can mingle with him, and then you can go.
One God, one world family. One God, one world family. एक यही आवाज हर दिल से निकली. एक यही आवाज हर दिल से निकली. One God, one world family. One God, one world family. विश्व एक परिवार है. विश्व एक परिवार है. एक पिता के हम सब बच्चे, ये अपना संसार है. One God, one world family. One God, one world family. सबको लेकर साथ चले, हाथ में देकर हाथ चले. सबको लेकर साथ चले, हाथ में देकर हाथ चले. प्रेम एकता, पवित्रता. प्रेम एकता, पवित्रता, सुख शांति का आधार है. One God, one world family. One God, one world family. एक बने हम, एक बने हम, समय की यही गुहार है. One God, one world family. One God, one world family.
क्या बात है, क्या रूप बना लिया आपने. बढ़िया.
विश्व पिता का कहना है, मिलकर हमें रहना है. विश्व पिता का कहना है, मिलजुल कर हमें रहना है. शुभकामना, शुभकामना, सद्भावना ही विश्व शांति का द्वार है. One God, one world family. One God, one world This glorious planet of Jubilee, this glorious planet of Jubilee, my home planet of Jubilee,
All right. Association for Culture Appropriate Services. Yeah, very good morning. Yeah, on their board. Yeah.